The first time I actually heard his name was when I found out that the Cock and Bull was going to be closing and moving. So Sergakis has always owned a lot of bars around Montreal, but the first time we actually heard about him and knew who he was people came in and said this guy named Sergakis is gonna bought out the Cock and Bull building and he's gonna take it over and kick them out and take over the entire area and the entire street. And it's when he became a bit of a hated figure in our circles. Well, I lived in that neighborhood for a long time, for about 4 years. I lived quite close to there, and I went to Concordia and Dawson for several years, and everyone just went there. It was a bit of a living room for certain people, or you just kind of wander in and say hello and grab a beer, and it was a community. So we all went there. We'd have nights at Dawson. Even a lot of the professors would meet regularly with their students there. Every Thursday night was liberal arts night, and everyone just kind of went there. It was definitely a microcosm. So within the downtown community, there were Cock and Bull people, and everyone knew each other. Most of the time, you'd go in there, you'd know a good portion of the people who would come in and go, or went there all the time. And went there on certain days and did arts and crafts or sang, and it was a lot of students, a lot of different ages as well, older people, younger people, and they just get together and talk and have a few beers. And the owners were three older ladies, and they used to come in from time to time, and then it was a bit of its own family. So there was back in the day there was this manager who used to really keep everyone in tow, and everyone was terrified of her. It was a huge matriarchy too. There was always women running the entire place, but it kind of became a family for a lot of people. A lot of people who didn't necessarily had one, and who just felt comfortable with each other and took care of each other, and just again went there to to relax. They were always renting the building. The Cock and Bull had been there since the 60s, I believe, and they'd rented the building the entire time. And Sergakis came in and said, "You guys have to get out. You can't lease this building anymore." And it took within then maybe about 2-3 months, and they ended up shutting it down. They tried to reopen by another building down the block, and Sergakis bought that one as well. And then they ended up finding another building where they are now, and they went through, as far as I know, a lot of legal battles, and it took them, I believe it was from September to March to reopen. It was they really had a hard time opening up another bar, and even afterwards, from what I heard, he threw all kinds of lawsuits at them for their name. They couldn't be called the Cock and Bull. He didn't want them to be called Le Bull. They couldn't hold arts and crafts night there anymore. They still do. All these things that were there and were just sort of started by people there and created there, he tried to say, "No, this is mine now, because I bought over the building, so I own everything you've done and everything you did." And it was especially arts and crafts, because there was one. There was always a huge night. It was Monday nights, and it would be packed in there, and you couldn't even move. It was mostly students just painting and playing with clay. And it was just a bartender there who used to go with her own money and just go to the dollar store and buy materials for everyone. And it was just this great kind of happy night. And he said, "No, this is mine. You can't do it anymore." So it's really a little bit of a need to control the whole area and to have everything, because he already owns 2 bars across the street, which he bought. So there's the Boîte à Karaoke, which used to be a diner called the Diner. It's a great place. I used to hang out there as well. And then there's all kinds of various things on the corner, and he just said, "No, this is my neighborhood now." Yeah. And it's a historic neighborhood too. Like back when the old Forum was there, it's a really happening sort of place. So there's I think it was called Studio 20, back where the diner was. Everyone would go to Moe's and go to the Cock and Bull, and you know, the hockey players used to go there apparently, and you know, a lot of people have been going there since it was open, or their parents went there, and it was just sort of, you know, a bit of an institution in the city, I guess. Well, Sergakis opened his bars, I'm not really sure when, maybe it was around 2007, 2008, somewhere then. I wasn't actually in the city when those opened. I just kind of came back and went, oh, wow, there's new things here now, okay. And I don't think it changed too much what was happening. And again, you know, Cock and Bull clients were fairly loyal. And I mean, Sergakis offers, you know, a lot of very cheap beer, and he gives you what he thinks you want, and it's, you know, giant pitchers and taps at the table and TV screens everywhere, and it's cheap and people go there. But he didn't really manage to steal Cock and Bull customers that much. We'd even go if we saw Cock and Bull people sitting at his bars. We'd go, "What are you doing here? You know, come on over." So people were willing to pay a little bit more for, you know, the community, and there's just something about it that you know, was built up over a long time, and it had just an atmosphere to it. It was still, you know, it was a dive bar downtown, but there's just something about it. I mean, honestly, I don't go there that often anymore. I'll go in once every, you know, 2 months, and it's just not the same. It had something, and there's some of the old regulars who are still there. A lot of the people who work there are still there, but it's just not the same anymore. It lost. You know, you can't get back what that had. I mean, you can't synthetically create something like that. It was organic, and it grew with, you know, nice people and good people who all just, you know, wanted to hang out together. And there's almost something tangible that you can feel when you have just that many people getting together for so many years in the same place. It creates something, and you can't just make that. And unfortunately, it's also hard to pick it up and move that. It's gone now. So if you look, I mean, he came in, he renovated the whole place. I've never actually gone there. I walked in there once just out of curiosity, and it's, you know, it's just not the same. It looks, I guess it looks like a lot of his other bars. Most of his bars kind of all have a certain look to them, and no, it doesn't have that feel to it. And, you know, he did manage to trick some people, and they'll go, "Oh, the Cock and Bull's here," and they'll walk in there and they'll go, "Oh no, it's terrible now. It's not the same. I don't know what happened to it." And yeah, I mean, he really felt the need to take control of that area, that block, and just couldn't let the Cock and Bull be and exist. Right now, if you go to where the Le Bull is, what was the Cock and Bull and is owned by the Cock and Bull owners and is a block away, and you just see this gaping hole where they're building a condo, and that, because I remember when I first started going to Dawson, there was all little stores and restaurants, and they slowly just forced them out and shut them down. And there's this one Indian restaurant too, that just stuck there for the longest time, and everything else on the block was shut down. They just refused to sell, and, you know, eventually they did. So that it's honestly, it hurts to see that, because if you're sitting outside the bowl and you just see this, it's terrible to see. And as for the sports bar, I would say it's very un-Montreal. Like, we don't have giant sports bars here. I can't think of one. We do have sports bars here. Most of them are owned by Sergakis, and we do enjoy watching sports. But having a whole giant complex through an entire block, and it's just the whole way it's run too. So it's minimal service. It's a lot of tables packed in together, and they give you big things of beer, so you don't need to order often, and a lot of rotating surly staff. And from my experience, a lot of his staff members don't really enjoy their jobs and aren't going to be, "Hey, it's great to see you," and, you know, just TVs everywhere, and that he always has a siren too in all of his bars, so whenever anything happens, they'll blare the siren, which is just absolutely terrible, very obnoxious. And no, I mean it was a very nice community. It was nice to walk around there. There are a lot of little stores, and you could go in and talk to people and knew the people who ran them. And it was a community downtown. And you'd walk down the streets and you'd see the same people, and you could not walk from Atwater to Concordia without seeing 10 people you knew when I lived there. And now it's going to be condos and sports bars, which is not the same as little stores and little bars and little cafes. And it's really sad what's happening to that neighborhood.